Hey guys, hope everyone is doing well. So this morning's motion hearing for Christian Eppinger has been rescheduled. I'll look for the date and update you guys. But Law and Crime did successfully get a feed to the hearing that was supposed to start at 2 p.m. for Tenquarius Mender. It's his final plea hearing and he is taking a plea. So let's tune in, let's listen to it. There are no closed captions, so YouTube will populate those on the replay of this video, but I don't think we're going to have them live. So let's go.
The motion to withdraw, Ms. Fagan would be the one to represent you for either of those filings unless she's permitted to withdraw before the end of the term of court. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Your Honor, have this case proceeded to trial as it relates to the counts in which the defendant has pled guilty to counts 44, 45, and 46. The state would be able to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that on February 18th of 2022, the defendant was living or staying at 901 Rack Street, Atlanta, Georgia, Fulton County, which is the Fulton County Jail, on the 18th of February, and there had been called Operation Sunrise, is what I believe it was.
Operation what?
Sunrise, I apologize, which was an operation in which the Sheriff's Department planned as it relates to doing a shakedown of the cells and the zone within the Fulton County Jail to find or look for any cell phones or weapons such as shanks as it relates to this case. Upon the shakedown of the search of Mr. Mender's cell, what they did find in his living quarters was a cell phone or telecommunication device, as well as a shank or a sharp knife-like object commonly used to commit aggravated assaults and assaults of that nature in the Fulton County Jail. While doing so, in the investigation as it relates to, at this time, in February of 2022, the investigators were able to determine or link an association with the YSL gang. His roommate at the time was Mr. YSL, who was also a documented known member of YSL, and both the shank or the knife-like device and the cell phone.
Is he making a heart? Look in the side.
In order to encourage and organize crimes outside of the jail as it relates to other violent crimes like aggravated assault, thefts, and crimes in which money can be gained for the enterprise of the gang. Your Honor.
Okay.
Had the state proceeded to trial, that's what the state would have been able to prove. As it relates to Mr. Mender, in my review of Mr. Mender's criminal history, he does have 3 prior felony convictions. I know probation is here, so I'm going to leave it up to give them to double check my.
He does have 3, actually 4 prior, 16 SC, 1, 4, 2, 3, 8, 3. First day partaking, obstruction of a law enforcement officer. 16 SC, 1, 4, 7, 6, 2, 9. Fleeing and eluding police, and obstruction of a law enforcement officer. 17 SC, 149, 680, theft by receiving stolen property. And 17 SC, 152052. The first 3, he's already used his first offender. He is not currently on active probation currently.
Okay. What was the charge for the last one, the 152052?
Entering the counts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, entering a vehicle, and then counts 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, criminal trespassing.
Okay. Thank you.
And Your Honor, the joint recommendation that the state and defense will be presenting to the court will be a global recommendation of 10 years to serve, 2 years, which will be credit for time served. The defendant has served all 2 years.
It's coming home.
Served on probation. What Ms. Fagan and the state have decided is that after 5 years of success on probation, that the last 5 years gets suspended.
All right. Well, there'd only be 8 years on probation, so the last 3 would be
Yes, I'll follow
suspended?
on that.
Okay, and are there special conditions?
Just the special conditions required by the gang statute, which would be that the defendant cannot associate with any gang members at all. That would include members of YSL as well as throwing 60s. Obviously, would not be able to possess a weapon, which he's not supposed to possess one now anyway, since he's a convicted felon. And other than that, just no violations of the law.
All right. I'm gonna, and you do have a high school degree, so I'm gonna require that you secure a job and maintain a job over the course of your probation. And I'm also gonna require that you be subject to, that you sign a Fourth Amendment waiver, so that during the period of your probation, you can be searched for any kind of things you're not supposed to have, like illicit, illegal drugs, guns, things like that. Okay? And Ms. Fagan, I noticed on the plea that got signed, and I'm sure it's because y'all wrote count 3, guilty under Alford, but it's not really count 3, it's count 46. I know it's the third count that you're pleading to, but if y'all want to correct that, please.
And I'll put the other counts for the.
All right, thank you.
I wonder if that's the possession of
All
the
right, I'll find there
phone.
to be a factual basis for this guilty plea. I'll accept the plea to counts 44 and 45 as a straight guilty plea, and the plea to count 46 under Alford.
Street gang activity.
Meaning that, Mr. Mender, you.
All right, so 46, what he's taking Alfred to is participation in criminal street gang activity. There you go. There you go. 44 was possession of a weapon by incarcerated individual. 45 is possession of telecommunication device, so presumably contraband phone, by incarcerated individual. Not bad. I never switched screens. Hold on. My bad. Staring into space. Let's rewind. My bad, you guys. I'm like staring at the screen by myself.
Evidence that a jury could interest Mr. Mender, you believe it to be in your best interest to enter that plea and believe that whether you are admitting your guilt or not, there's sufficient evidence that a jury could find that you were guilty of that offense if it went to trial. So I find the plea to be freely, voluntarily, intelligently, and knowingly entered with an understanding of the consequences, and I'll accept it as such. And you've already been told that you are not to possess any weapons. I just need to ask if you've got a weapons carry license. Okay. If you did, you would have to turn that in. But all right, and I'm going to sentence in accord with the negotiated recommendation on count 44. The sentence is 5 years to serve to 3 probated. Count 45, the sentence is the same, concurrent. And then count 46, the sentence is 10 years to serve to concurrent. Credit for time served on all of those. The 8-year balance of the probation is going to be on probation. After 5 years of successful probation, meaning no revocations, the remaining 3 years can be suspended. And special conditions, you need to sign a Fourth Amendment waiver, you need to secure and you need to maintain a job during the course of your probation, and no associating in any way with any other criminal street gang members or any gang, and no possessing any weapons. All right, good luck to you. And now we'll turn to the plea on the 21 SC case.
And similarly situated, does the state oppose my client pursuing the Mender out.
And they're cutting us out, or? Hold on, there's a little bit more. Does it come back? All right, I don't think so. So there we go. So guys, if you're joining late, Law and Crime jumped into this late, right? So this morning there was supposed to be a hearing for Christian Eppinger. It's been rescheduled. I have some, that makes me think, but I don't know exactly what I think about that. We know that Christian Eppinger, a long time ago, filed a motion for immunity from prosecution. He's putting forth an affirmative defense. But more recently, like last week, he filed a motion to suppress witness identification evidence that pits him as the one that committed the crime, along with Durante Beebe, who, according to his defense, Eppinger's defense attorney, Eric Johnson, the witness completely gave a description of Beebe that doesn't look anything like Beebe. So there's some questions there. Really looking forward to hearing those motion hearings, but whatever he had scheduled this morning has been rescheduled. I don't know. I know that Paige, Judge Whitaker, has had, a personal emergency recently. Rumor is, and I see you guys talking about it in the chat, possibly a death in the family. Everybody needs their time to grieve. So that could be a reason why that motions hearing got rescheduled. But I'm wondering if the state was prepared to argue back and if maybe they asked for more time. Infamous Sylvia was in court. She didn't have her camera streaming, but she is going live tonight to talk about anything that she observed while in that hearing this morning. But what we just watched, what we started watching when this stream started, was from the very beginning. Law and Crime couldn't get a pool feed for the first hearing this morning. And it seems like, let's watch how their feed starts.
The motion to withdraw, Ms. Fagan would be the one to represent you for either of those filings unless she's permitted to withdraw before the end of the term of court, okay?
So he had already said that, yes, I accept this plea, and Judge Whitaker was letting him know, like, hey, you have time. If you want to withdraw this plea, you could do so. So Law and Crime started right in the middle of this. But it looks like he's coming home with 5 years probation. It's really 8 years to serve probation, but the state has agreed. Everyone's in agreement because Judge Whitaker says, yes, that's okay. Will suspend the last 3 years. So if you're getting through your first 5 years of probation, no, the last 3 will go away. That's not a bad deal. Time served. And then they cut us off for whatever other case they were about to talk about. Feed ended. So there we go with that, you guys. Double checking here. I don't see anything going on at the end of the stream. So refresh it just to be sure. Yeah, it's over. It ended completely. So with that being said, I will suggest, let me get Miss Sylvia's channel. And I think this is just a ballpark guess, but usually I see her go live at like 7 p.m., 8 p.m. Eastern when she does her evening recaps of anything that happened in court. So I don't see anything scheduled yet, but around that time will probably be the time. So make sure you check that out. I'll post an update as a community note when I see the date rescheduled. Big shout out here, guys. Show FFS some love in the chat, because if it wasn't for FFS, I would not know that Law and Crime got this feed. They were supposed to start at 2 p.m. When there was no word of it, I was just like, all right, it's just not going to happen. They're not going to get a feed, just like what happened with this morning. And FFS was like, no, they're live right now. So big thank you to FFS for being on it. Okay, Samson says 5:30. Nevi says 5:30. K Tally Pitlove say 5:30. So be there earlier than 7 on Infamous Sylvia's channel. Thank you, chat. Yes, and great clarification here too. Copa says there are 2 Nards. So, Demise McMullen, aka Nard, he's charged with the Donovan Thomas murder. He's got some heavy charges he's facing. He's aka Nard. Tenquarius Mender, also Nard. Tenquarius Mender was facing, we just looked at those counts, but count 1, the RICO, which I didn't hear Paige say out loud. I heard her say 44, 45 were guilty pleas, and 46 was Alford plea. And again, those charges here for Tenquarius Mender, also aka Nard. possession of weapon by incarcerated individual, possession of telecommunication device by incarcerated individual, and this is the Alford, participation in criminal street gang activity. Fortunately, I didn't hear what happened with count 1, but we can look for that disposition statement paperwork and see. But interesting. I mean, what do you guys think overall? We've got 3 remaining defendants for the second YSL trial, right? We've got Demikian Garlington, Demise McMullen, the other AKA Nard, and then you've got Christian Eppinger, who there's some motion still going on, and we're supposed to have this status hearing, which it seems like Judge Whitaker wanted that to be the final status hearing on the 17th. So coming up later this week, we'll have to see if that's really the last one before the trial is set to roll out. February was supposed to be the start time, but who knows? Who knows? Yeah, Mender is also AKA Stunna. And I think, was it Woody that was like, which Nard? When I think Hilton was asking, like, and do you know somebody that goes by the name of Nard? And Woody was like, which one? So another confusing layer in this case was some of the names going back and forth. All the little D's. So there's another one. And then we'll see. So Garlington's not going to plea. I mean, anything can change, but, you know, maybe something with Christian Eppinger with all these motions up in the air. And, you know, here's my take. Let's talk about the Christian Eppinger thing. I don't know what's going to play out with these motions, but I think his defense attorney, Eric Johnson, I think they have a strong strategy to their advantage, right? They're laying out self-defense for this apprehension, right? So Officer Rogers pulls up, gets right out of the car. It seems like the state has tried to misrepresent to the court or had the situation wrong until they looked at the body cam footage. Who knows? It seems like the state originally presented it as a matter that nobody in their right mind could not know who was running up on them. Whereas the defense is saying he didn't know it was an officer. You know, in his state of mind, reasonably, he feared for his life. And this was not just self-defense, but defense itself of others. You know, he's in his neighborhood. Now, this motion to suppress witness ID suggests, and this again, a motion is the argument by the attorney. It's not proven facts. It hasn't been played out in court. But this motion is suggesting that the police put a photograph on top of a photo lineup. Round 1 with the same photo, the witness didn't ID Christian Eppinger. Round 2, the defense attorney is alleging that the police did some shoddy, sketchy maneuvers to steer the witness, the victim, to ID Christian Eppinger by putting his photo at the top of the stack. So if that happened, and the police only have a warrant out for you, or they're on the lookout for you, because a police officer mis-ID'd them, steered someone to mis-ID you, maybe you didn't actually do the thing they're accusing you of, so why would you expect that somebody running up on you was a police officer trying to rightfully arrest you, to carry out a warrant for your arrest, right? And when you put those two things together, very, very, very strong defense strategy, in my opinion. So I'm excited to see those argued orally. So you've got Christian Eppinger, and then you've got Demise McMullen, you've got Demikian Garlington. Those are our 3 that are left. So, and Ashley Linnell could be onto something. Paige doesn't want to go to trial. I mean, it'd be a big save on the rest of the resources. I already think they're saving a ton of resources by, you know, from whenever Abate was left alone at the defense table, as Judge Whitaker called it out, changing the maneuvers. Let's trim this down. Let's move on. Let's handle business. Let's get this done. Now, you can't rewind time and have someone say, let's do this from the very beginning, but at least stepping into it in the middle, it's good to see them whittle it down. But yeah, that's what I've got. Shout out. I see people shouting out Seti, but then I don't see Seti. So always shout out to Seti. Seti says all the quays. Yeah, that's crazy too. That was one of my favorite days with the YouTube chat. Everybody was using Quay as a pun for different jokes. It was a good time. Good to see you, Seti. Let's see. Eppinger is the one who shot the cop, right? So yes, Eppinger is the one who shot the cop, and oddly enough, was one of the very few that was able to get a bond granted, right? So I feel like the state, because of the press, the hot button of, shooting at a police officer, I feel like the state, for better or for worse for Christian Eppinger, has an axe to grind with their own granting of a bond, getting a bond granted for the one who shot at a cop when everybody else was denied bond until a plea deal was dropped on the table. Like, that's a big oops from the state, if you ask me. Doesn't look good. So, let's see. Kristen Vasquez, thanks for becoming green again. 403 is ready. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Hello, kattnotwilliams and my favorite friend. Good to see you. Good to see you. It's nice to get together for a little bit here. And thank you for being a member for 5 months. Kristen, also, see, there we go. YouTube will say someone's a new member, but here it's counting. You've been here 5 months, Kristen. So thank you so much. Kristen says, so good to be home. Missed you guys. And same thing, guys, if they do some hearing on the 17th, and if Law and Crime gets the camera feed, we'll see you guys on the 17th. If that gets pushed back, look for a community post or a Twitter post. SteffJK says, yay, the gang's all here. Heck yeah. Cat Dragon, I pinned this. Cat Dragon pointed out that the Rose Petal murder trial starts today in Greenville. Very interesting, and I saw a shout out from Kathy Roussan for Pretty Lies and Alibis, who actually, I think they had trouble seating a jury, right? So I've got to go and catch up on this. But let's see. Let me get the link to Pretty Lies and Alibis. They did a 3-episode backstory so you can get the recap, and also they did a presser outside the courthouse today. Why weren't we able to seat a jury? So apparently they were having trouble finding a jury that could commit to 2 to 3 weeks. So of course you know what trial I thought of when I heard jury can't commit to 2 to 3 weeks. Whew. Oh boy. So let me get Pretty Lies and Alibis YouTube channel here and link it to you guys. This is definitely a great place to go if you want the context on the Rose Petal case before they're actually able to start streaming it when they get the jury. So there you go in the chat. Let's see here. Also, before I get out of this YouTube window, I always feel silly saying it because I feel like everybody knows Seti Nash, but if you don't, Seti Nash does a ton of content, not just on YSL, but also on other trials. I feel like everybody already knows Seti, but if you don't, this is the time to give a subscribe, catch up on everything that he's covering over there. Gives personal insight and thoughts, but also really quick with it. I know he produces his videos on demand. He doesn't go live. But you guys can have fun in the comment section, have the conversation going there. Let's see. Ashley Linnell, Yak should be home. I still think it's crazy that someone that gets found not guilty is caught up because, we have an issue with an outstanding probation violation because he didn't report, he didn't go to court while he was in custody. Just who knows? So we've still got to follow what's going on with that. That's really, it's just annoying. It's just annoying. It seems petty. And that's the word I've got for it. And yeah, chat saying we all know Seti. See, there you go. Granddad Gaming says Seti who, JK. Love to see it. Michelle Warden, thanks for becoming green, and good to see you. Hope you're doing well. I've gotten to run into you over in the YouTube streets elsewhere, but glad to see you here. Special Bendy Bro says, I missed you guys. Right? It feels weird. It's been 3 weeks of a whole different routine. Nancy New One Too with the context here says Mender was also on Georgia's most dangerous list. His other RICO had 50-ish counts. And you know what? Thanks for bringing this up, because it's always interesting to hear a condition, any special conditions, right? Stay away from anyone that's a gang member. Right, there's an issue there. Who exactly is a gang member? Like, is anyone that took a plea deal? You can't go near them, but you can go near Yak and SB, and maybe, like, can other people now go against Tenquarius Mender? I still don't know what happened with count 1, but he took an Alford plea to the criminal street gang, the participation in criminal street gang activity. So, like, this is the most, like, wishy-washy, hodgepodge definition, delineation of who's a gang member, who's not, what do we know? After 3 years or more, what do we actually know? Like, it's stupid. It's so stupid. But yeah, Nancy knew, no special conditions here to stay away from people that he allegedly victimized. Right? We heard Doug Weinstein make that point about, I forget who in particular he was making that point about. But just the concept that you have a special condition, you have your probation terms, you've got to abide by, but none of these terms are making you stay away from the person you were supposed to have harmed. Like, what? I think it was Antonio Sumlin on the stand. And Doug asked during cross, where it was a term for you to go away. And then let's see. Enhancer for YouTube. So Kernow Audit says if you download Enhancer for YouTube. So the extension is called Enhancer for YouTube. I'm going to pin this, and I will do this for you. For all of you. Yeah, because I tried Volume Booster, and I tried like 4 or 5 extensions, and none of them actually carried over through StreamYard to you guys. So we'll try this one for the next stream. Because I imagine this microphone problem isn't going to end. Let's see. Yeah, Peter Steele, I don't know, because if we have an Alford plea on the participation in criminal street gang activity, it seems like he pled guilty just to the contraband. And again, guys, going back to Nancy knew one too, here we are again. Big, bad, like, he's framed up to be wanted, super dangerous. It almost feels like a boogeyman situation. But his plea, at least what we're able to hear from this partial stream, he pled guilty for contraband while he was locked up in custody awaiting his trial. Like, how do you get out of that? They get you one way or the other. So, let's see here. Factual Lie says, hit the like button. Love you guys. Factual Lie, so good to see you. Let's see. Gap Girl says, Kat, have you heard a case, Detroit versus Jarvis? But I've been catching up. Let me get a link over here. Let's see. Let me find Survivor Speaks first stream on that case. I think she did 2. Okay, so this was her, she did an on-demand video and a live. So I've been watching with Survivor Speaks. She's been covering that, and that's the case. I think a lot of people, they don't really know his name. Jarvis Butt is the defendant, but the victim's name is Naziah Harris, and I think that people are saying her name more. So to say it for the chat, if you've heard of the Naziah Harris case, that's really the case of Detroit versus Jarvis Butt. Survivor Speaks, and I think a few other channels have been covering it. I've been watching it over with Survivor. So if you want to catch up on that case over here, link is in the chat for you. So there you go. And also catching this from Dylan, way to go with the throwback here. Dylan says that Nard got offered a plea with Glanville. He refused to take it. Now, my brain is a little foggy. Is this when Nicole was, like, out with maternity leave? Right, wasn't there, like, some hearing, and maybe it wasn't the plea hearing, maybe it was something else, where this was going on, but Nicole wasn't available in that time frame. So thank you for the recall there. I could be getting my events overlapping in the wrong way. I could be off on the timelines there. But either way, great recall here from Dylan. Okay, she was there for that one. What was the one that she was missing from? And he was just kind of like looking around in circles. Like, I don't know if he was there physically, but I remember the judge was asking about it. And the judge seemed so lost that she wasn't available to be there. Let's see. Also, shout out Danny IRL just says, hi guys. Good to see you, Danny. Let's see. BigBabyJane says, hey, Kat and the chat. I hope everyone is doing well. Love to see it. Everybody saying hey to each other here. Mixed Chick says, like, subscribe, and share. Good to see you, Mixed Chick. KC Dog. Let's show KC Dog some love in the chat, because guess what? KC Dog is gifting 5 memberships. Hold on, what? Hold on. I'm seeing something in the chat. Cha, is this for real? Is this for real? That's so sad. Oh my god, Dialogue with Me TV says, hi, Cat in chat. Just wanted you to know our beloved YouTube family member Toothless Tiger passed away. Rest in peace. No way. Oh my god, sometimes, like, guys, when there's, like, an RIP rumor, like, you read the chat and you don't really know, and, like, maybe someone gets miscommunicated, but a bunch of you guys are saying it, so that's really sad. You guys know, like, with Legal Vices, we did something awesome. We showed some posthumous love to the channel creator. We could do the same for Toothless Tiger. If you guys want to go and hit some thumbs up, show Toothless Tiger some respect. That makes me really sad. Thank you guys for letting me know, because I might not have realized, like, you know, why, you know, she hasn't uploaded anything in a while. That's really sad, you guys. So thank you for letting me know. Thank you, chat, for showing your condolences. Oh. So yeah, dropping that link again. You know, I've had some great evenings. Just you know, Toothless Tiger did this awesome thing. She would do a Let's Chat style content, and she would put, like, really calming music as a background instrumental, and she would start a conversation. You know, sometimes there she would carry the conversation completely by herself, but you know, we'd be in the chat, we'd feed in, and she'd have conversations with everybody. And there were a lot of evenings, you know, I'd go in my kitchen, I'd be cooking, and I would just pull her stream up, she'd be live, and it was really, really nice. So it was really sad. Let me get it together. Thank you so much, Dialogue with Me TV, for, you know, letting us know and confirming that. You know, I really hate things to float around as rumors, but I know it can be tough to be the one to say it. So thank you, thank you, thank you. In sunshiny spirit here, Amy E, right on time, with the love here. Good to see you, Amy E. Hope you are doing well. Yeah, this is crazy. And I'm so glad, like, I know, like, 5 minutes from now, somebody's gonna make me laugh, and just, like, you guys can get me right back into it. Always something positive to turn things around. So I like, love having you guys, the chat, as my internet friends. Uh, Shout out to the Vikings who just raided. There you go. Say hello to the Vikings. Good to see you guys over here. That's Nick Starrow's crew. That's what we call him. And aptly timed, because tonight with NFL playoffs, you guys know I'm a Minnesota Vikings fan. So on a positive note, hope they do well tonight. Hope they do well. And Nick, what did you cover today? Did you do... Nick's doing the CNN defamation case with the Navy vet. So I know a lot of... And you guys feel free in the chat to say, what are you guys tuning into? You know, like, you watch this YSL trial, you've got something to do daily for a year, right? And a little bit still as trial 2 approaches. But what are you doing now that there's been free time? What else are you following? Are you doing other stuff besides trials? Are you watching other trials? Like, drop it in the chat. We can all navigate to new things. Heck yeah, Blue-Eyed Hillbilly says go Vikings. If you're not a Minnesota Vikings fan, just say go Vikings for the Nick Starro crowd, and it all works. It will all work. Again, all love in the chat here to Miss Toothless Tiger. Rest in peace to a wonderful, wonderful person and content creator. Gamba Kufu just saying hi. Kay Schmidt also became a member. And then Full Drinking and Half Thinking, good to see you. So stay the course, mama. We are here. I know I've been missing, and I do have other things that we will get together and talk about. But really, again, I've told you guys, January is a crazy month with my client work, like my day job, my actual work. Just always a weird transition period, busy time of implementation. Everyone sends in work orders for me to get done this time of year because they want to roll out 2025 strong. So thank you for the words of encouragement here from Full Drinking, Half Thinking. That's a long name. Can we spell that out in the chat? And when are you getting together? When are you doing a just chatting? Let me pull you up. It takes a lot to type out that channel name. So let's see. I don't see anything. What am I linking to? Let me pick one. I don't see anything YSL recently. You've got to do a live and go bananas. You're going to go live on Wednesday? All right. Or is it every Wednesday? So what you'll have to do, hit that bell, guys. Hit that bell because you'll get the notification when he schedules or goes live. Wait, I don't see the first. Oh, you know what it's saying for you, and it's recommending me something from 3 days ago. So there you go. But I didn't get a notification. I have the bell hit. So I'm gonna come hang out there. You'll get me through some work. Thank you so much again for the super. And then FFS gifting 5 memberships. That is a much easier name to type in the chat. So if you guys want to drop an FFS again, there we go. Much easier. And trying to catch up with you guys. Allegedly, maybe. I love the new name. Every time I say Full Drinking, Half Thinking, I always put an island accent on in my head. It's because the G's are missing off the drinking and thinking. Let's see. So Sapphire Ridge News says, I tune into Arms Family Homestead, Robbie Layton Mass Off-Road Recovery, Gentry and Sons Trucking. Wait, is that like those videos where they have to like get heavy artillery, like the bigger vehicles out of, like they ride into a ditch or something like that? That stuff's always interesting to me. I'm clueless. I had this was years ago. This was off Mount Hope in like the Rochester area of New York. It's really, I think, technically the city of Henrietta. There's a Burger King at an intersection, and my friend was driving. It wasn't me, but there was like a cement barrier right next to where you order in the drive-thru, and they drove over it, and the tire, like, if the tire has like this much room for the axles here or whatever, the axle was sitting on the top of the curb. The tire wasn't touching ground on the other side. And they were stuck in the drive-thru for 3 hours before a towing company could come get them out. When I told you I was laughing for 3 hours straight. We were just stuck in a drive-thru. Oh my gosh. And that was just a regular car. But yeah, the heavy rescue is crazy. Crazy when you see like tractor trailers, like especially ice storms. When I was driving back last January from an esports tournament, just the amount of like tractor trailers that were going off the interstate, off the road, like trees were falling down, just the slick little bit of ice. Ice is so dangerous, you guys, you won't really see it until you're sliding on it. But probably from the drive back home from Dallas, probably, I don't know, about 10 hours into the drive. Like, I feel like we were pulling up on Georgia and there were still accidents all over the place. So really scary stuff to see. And then you've got to have like artillery that can power getting something out of a ditch that's that big. So just crazy. Allegedly, maybe says I'm in Atlanta. It took 3 tow trucks to get a box truck out of a ditch on my road. I'm telling you, like, especially areas that aren't prepared for, winter weather, it's just crazy the stuff that can happen. Just crazy. I do hope if you guys are in Atlanta or in the Georgia area that you got to enjoy the snow. Maybe you guys had a little break from work, kids had some time off from school. I always used to love winter storms. In New York, we'd be prepared for it a little bit better. I went to Atlanta, I think it was 2014. I was flying in for the esports tournament and it was an ice storm. My flight got canceled, so I switched my flight to South Carolina and drove. Nobody was on the road. It was awesome. But everything was shut down. It was like a ghost town. So it's really different coming down from like Buffalo, New York, driving into a place that's completely shut down, but it's clear as far as I can see. So, and then they did get a little bit of ice when I went down in 2014, but it wasn't anything like you'd see in New York. Let's see. And FFS just fixed his notifications. Hold on, so you said to personalize and maybe I have the same problem. Let me go back. I've got to teach YouTube. I'm personalized too. Okay, so we'll do all. So I've got to teach my YouTube algorithm to show me you if it wasn't showing me on personalized. So thank you, FFS. Nick is late to his own raid. We said hey to the Vikings earlier and I used it as an excuse to cheer on my NFL team, the Minnesota Vikings, tonight. They're playing tonight. So that's awesome. Good to see you. And we mentioned that you were covering the CNN defamation trial, and people are saying that that's an interesting case. So I've got to look into that one, especially it's probably a lot shorter than something like YSL. So again, guys, head over to, do I still have him up? Let me pull up Nick's channel again. Big Nick Starro. For coverage on that CNN defamation case. Miss loves disappointed father, says Minnesota's cursed. Let's see. Kissin' Pink says gang member for 4 months. Heck yeah, thanks for being here. Almost to my $25 fee. Heck yeah, we're doing like a $5 a month, getting to your 25. Love it, love it. Always good to see you. It was great to see you the other night at Club Classy. And I think that's tonight, right? Right, today's Monday? For the first time I searched in a while, I actually searched Classy Beats the other day instead of typing Club Classy out of habit. Like, that's how much I call it that. So yes, I see live tonight. So come hang out at Club Classy. And maybe some background music when you watch the Minnesota Vikings. There you go. There you go. Let's see. Michelle Warden says, miss you, Kat. I'm watching Nick. Watch him every Friday live panel. The Delphi trial, is there anything going on? Michelle, have you seen with the Delphi trial? That's Richard Allen. There was, some juror did an interview, right? And I've got to go and watch that recap. I know a lot of people have been talking about it. It's on my watch list. It's like in a list of a bunch of stuff. With these esports tournaments, I'm watching that stuff a lot of the day. It takes away from my background time. But some juror, we had our gripes about Juror 409 with the YSL trial. With Richard Allen, the Delphi trial, this juror did an interview, and apparently one of her reasons, and I don't know how much of a reason it was for her, but she stated that she felt like the defendant had a creepy look. And it's one of those things like, put yourself in the shoes of a defendant. And you're in the courtroom, especially Richard Allen was in custody for several years. He was in solitary confinement. He claims, and there's been expert witnesses, treating psychiatrists, psychologists that have backed him up that said, he had clinical mental health issues as a result of the way he was incarcerated. Now imagine you go through conditions like that and then you get your day in court and you're sitting there and people judge you for your appearance, the way that you look. And a good part of the reason you might look a certain way is because you've been sitting in custody for 2 to 3 years. So it's one of those things, like, as a person, if I get a bad gut instinct about somebody, I can talk myself through it. I can try to get over that. It can be natural to get an instinct about somebody. But when you're sitting on a jury and there's only a panel of people that can have this conversation and deliberate amongst themselves, if your gut instinct carries the normal weight it should out in the real world where things don't carry huge consequences, I think that's highly problematic, right? It's one thing if you have a gut instinct and say, you know what, I'm going to stay home tonight. I changed my mind. I just don't feel like going to this venue. Just got a bad feeling. Or I'm going to cancel the date. I'm going to tell someone I'm not interested. Whatever. I just get a gut instinct. That's a little bit of a different application of your gut instinct than being on a jury and sending someone away for life because you just had a vibe. So I've got to go and watch that. I've got to go and check that out. You guys know that I almost turned into a steaming tea kettle about Juror 409. So I agree. That guy, Nick 36, not Big Nick, says this is why we should care about jail conditions more, y'all. What if you throw away the key on the wrong guy? That terrifies me. And there's a reason. Like, it might seem, common sense. I want to say, look, if there's a defendant, they're on trial for something serious, there's a good chance that I might guess or consider, yeah, they might be sitting there shackled. But either way, it would be prejudicial for me to see them that way. I'm not supposed to know about their incarceration, think about it. I'm not supposed to see them in cuffs or their jail street blues, their Fulton County blues. It's the right of a defendant to not be portrayed that way for a reason, because that type of imagery can just put a juror over here like, oh, they must be guilty, unfairly so. So, I don't know. It's just one of those topics. It's one of those topics. So, and I don't know, another reason again, learning more about jury trials. If you get that call for jury duty, I mean, you could be what I would call a voice of reason on that jury pool. So, let's see here. Miss Love sends it too. Thank you so much, Miss Love's disappointed father, Matt Rose. Thank you so much. Let's see. Max being brilliant even months later. Yeah, heck yeah. I think Fulton County Blues, that should be a reference that we continue to carry forth. And let's see. Sapphire Ridge did a stream on... Did you do one on the Delphi jurors? I'm scrolling back up, but... Starmer. Oh, that's a leader. Okay, so apparently I've got to watch this stream because I don't know who Keir Starmer is. So I'm going to link to that, you guys. I'm uneducated. I have no idea. I didn't even know what Starmer was, but English Prime Minister. So thank you for that. Love to see people go and cover, topics that aren't getting like the big buzz type of coverage in a certain space, right? So maybe this is big news over with our friends overseas, but I don't know much about it. Maybe that's just me, but maybe a lot of other Americans would be interested in checking that out, seeing what our friends overseas are up to. And that's interesting. So thank you so much, Sapphire Ridge News. And let's do a Twitter check. Has anyone shared anything else? You know, maybe posts from Kathy or anyone from AJC. Maybe these are threads with something else. Oh, and Melanie has a good question here. So how did Tenquarius Mender have a plea hearing? How did he still have time for a plea? Now, final plea date, you know, anything can happen, right? You know, state could decide like, hey, we want to offer a plea because something else just came up. But formally, yes, they did have a final plea hearing. But Tenquarius Mender, if you guys were wondering, like, didn't they have a final plea hearing? Well, Nicole Fagan, his attorney, had said, look, we're still having some issues getting some stuff turned over to us. We want to revisit that and then discuss this some more. So there were reasons that, according to his attorney, you know, we can't appropriately negotiate a plea because there's still stuff that would be important in making this decision that we don't have available to us. So my guess is, filling in those gaps, they continued the negotiations with the state, and that's how we got here to where we are today with a negotiated and accepted negotiated plea. So great question there in the comments here from Melanie. And then really no other updates. Let's look. I doubt the disposition sheet is uploaded already, but let me pull that up and see if we can see what happened with count 1 for Tenquarius Mender, and then we'll wrap up. So good time to, what are you guys going to watch? It's about 4 p.m. Eastern. What are you guys going to watch for the rest of the day? Shout that out in the chat while I look up to see if we have this plea, this final disposition for Tenquarius Mender on the docket. And I gotta say, it's so nice to see drama from another country being discussed in the chat here. I know I have like a no politics rule, but it's like outside of my wheelhouse. I don't know. Let's see. And bear with me because this Research Georgia portal is so slow. Andrea says I'm gonna watch the back of my eyelids. Yeah, get that shut eye, get that rest. Let's see. Okay, and so far also no update on anything on the 17th. That's still the most recent hearing that's scheduled. So as of right now, we should be getting together this Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern. I do expect that Law and Crime will have resources dedicated to streaming this one live on the 17th. So unless they reschedule it, we should be live that day. It's so frustrating. I'm like, is it my internet? Is it me? Like, look at it go. Look at it go. Alrighty. Yeah, no. So no new events. Double check. Sometimes you could sort by this and it only shows you hearings and doesn't actually show you filings. So sometimes you have to run the filter twice to actually get accurate results. So we'll double check. Oh, okay. We have a Rule 22 that was submitted today. You guys can see this. Okay, so it's going through. When it's like this, you guys, this means I don't have to buy it. That's why it has this watermark. So we're just gonna like zoom in. Fox 5 wants to use the camera pool. So they applied today. They're a little late on that. But there you go. So Fox 5 should be in there. They've got their Rule 22 granted. So we should have at least a Fox 5 Atlanta stream on the 17th. So there we go. Oh, no, that was for today. It says 2 p.m. January 13th. So maybe that's how we got this last minute feed. Maybe Lawn Crime syndicated from them. So that's probably why it started at like 3 p.m. randomly in the middle of Judge Whittaker talking. So shout out to them for getting that done. But yeah, otherwise, and we can pull up, let's see if anything's under Eppinger. Okay. Well, maybe everything down here loaded. So we'll see. Anything new down here? Okay, so whatever was rescheduled from today hasn't been rescheduled here, at least not that we can see, but maybe Sylvia knows. Any new events? And if you guys, I did clip out a segment from our last live stream, which was a bit longer. But if you go over and check out that stream, I did link all of the filings relating to Christian Eppinger. So his immunity motion, his motion to suppress, and the state's response to the immunity motion. If you give me a second, I'll get that link. Yeah, so nothing there. What was this? Okay, so comes now the defendant through undersigned counsel hereby gives notice to the court and the office of Fulton County District Attorney of the withdrawal of his previously filed motion for immunity from prosecution. What? What? Hold on now. All right, I don't know about that. All right, so shared that over on X. Again, when it's like a one-page document, guys, I don't actually buy it. So when you see a screenshot with this ugly watermark, that's why. Because it lets you preview page 1. So there we go. I mean, maybe he's withdrawing it because it did have a lot of errors. Right? If you guys remember, I think a different name was listed in the first sentence. And the state's response to it was like, in the defendant's error-laden motion, it really did have a lot of errors in it. So possibly it's withdrawn because it was kind of a hot mess. So who knows? But there we go. Yeah, like maybe take it back and try again, even though it was filed so many months ago originally. So for Always Forever for Life, I've been catching up with that with the Naziah Harris. See, there you go, right? Nobody's saying the defendant's name, Mr. Butts. So technically it's the People verse or Detroit, wherever it's being tried against Javaris. But people are saying her name and remembering Naziah Harris. So I'm going to use both interchangeably just because I want people to know what I'm referring to. But I really do see more people using her name and remembering her. But Survivor Speaks has been covering this trial. That's where I've been following it with. So I would suggest come hang out with us over there. It's a good time over there in the Survivor Speaks chat. You'll see a lot of familiar faces. It is really a sad case. Queen Val, I don't know. We were just looking. I'm over in Eppinger now, but we just got done looking at Tenquarius Mender. I'm looking for that disposition sheet because the camera feed, it started after Whittaker was like, all right, well, you can withdraw this if you want to within this time period. Unless maybe did Fox 5 Atlanta start streaming before Law and Crime? Did they stream it today? I didn't get an alert. No, I think I only saw Law and Crime streaming. And again, thanks FFS for the ping that they started streaming today's hearing. But yeah. Yeah, and you guys are in the chat here. So that mention of in the other case, and I think that's where we had the feed cut. So with the Law and Crime stream in the middle, Whitaker was like, oh, and now we're going to talk about the 22SC case, or maybe 23SC case. And Jason and Chadiki are in the chat saying, like, you know, that was relating to YGC. And Ashley asking, so he was never considered YSL? Listen, here comes the hybrid gang theory. What's one more gang to join the hybrid mix? So there we go. Shout out to the chat for that context there. Yeah, I do think that possibly they're withdrawing the immunity motion. I mean, it'd be interesting to withdraw an immunity motion and decide now at the final hour you don't want to rely on an affirmative defense. When, I mean, I think a jury would reasonably conclude that those videos footage, whether, like, the question wouldn't be justification or not if you take the affirmative defense off the table. There would be no justification. Yeah, he shot at the cop, but it was justified for X, Y, or Z reason or reasons. If you take that off the table, you'd be asking the jury to decide, is that him that did this or not? Right? You remove the justification. I don't know if that's a great strategy, so I would imagine that they're withdrawing this. And remember, Eric Johnson had asked, like, you know, hey, we want to call a witness for this immunity hearing. And I don't know if it was the testifying officer or the custodian that was going to be called to get this body cam footage brought in. But Adam Abate, the state ended up stipulating, like, hey, if they're just going to call this witness because they want to be able to discuss the video at this hearing, we'll stipulate to this video, right? That was the last thing we heard before this hearing was set to take place. And then now we're getting this withdrawal thing. So who knows? I don't really feel like, I feel like this explanation could just be because the original filing said comes now the defendant and then named somebody that wasn't Christian Eppinger, and they have to redo it. So we'll have to see. So there we go. I will do an update on if there's a new hearing scheduled or we get that disposition sheet for Tenquarius Mender, or anything else related. But it seems like for now, there's still a conference, maybe a final hearing before trial, slated for Friday the 17th. So we'll get together then, you guys. Factual Lie. I see the Karen Reed new info here from Ashley and Factual Lie. Whew, what a mess. So the Judge Beverly Cannoni, has denied the Commonwealth's motion. That's the prosecution. We're used to saying the people or the state, but Commonwealth, that's the term they use in Massachusetts. Judge has denied the prosecutor's motion to exclude the testimony of the defense's expert witness, Dr. Marie Russell. Very, very awesome. Now, I know a lot of people have been covering Karen Reed as well. And honestly, if you like talk about Karen Reed on X, it's gonna take over your whole algorithm. So just a little warning there. But I bet Melanie Little has probably already looked at this motion. So Melanie Little. Yeah, streamed 1 hour ago. It's an hour-long stream. So if you guys want to go through a reading of that motion, Melanie Little was on it. And I believe AV was also live, but I'm not sure if she was looking at... I'm not sure. Was she looking at the motion or was she doing like a recap of... Let's see. I think she watched the hearing. Is it going to let me do a little preview play? When I jumped in, she was like talking about the hearing, right? The hearing where it was like 2 days of hearing, where they have this woman on the stand. And again, there's been a trial one. So this expert witness that the Commonwealth with a new lead prosecutor was moving to exclude was already testifying in the first trial. Now they wanted to exclude her. She was offering a hypothesis that the victim, the decedent's injuries on his arm were not caused by Karen Reed, the defendant, driving her vehicle, because they weren't consistent with what a tail light could do to somebody's arm. She was offering the possibility that they were consistent in her experience and her knowledge with dog bites, right? And the family where John O'Keefe was found dead on his front lawn on top of snow, even though this all would have happened before the snow was falling or done falling, they had a German Shepherd, Chloe. If you guys see Chloe Albert's Revenge in the chat ever, that's where her name came from. The family, the Alberts, police officers that work in this area, they rehomed this dog shortly after this incident. So lots of stuff going on in that case. But it's good to hear that this expert witness, I don't know if there's new, maybe she's an expert on X, but no longer an expert on X and Y. I haven't gotten to watch through a reading or read through the filing myself, but it is good that the judge didn't just flat out grant the prosecution's request here. So here's a link also to AV's recap with the whole hearing. And again, like 2 days of hearing with this woman on the stand, and the Commonwealth is just trying to get her to trip up. And you don't have to think that an expert witness's opinion is factually what happened in a given situation. The purpose of qualifying an expert witness is, do they meet the criteria to testify as an expert witness, right? Expert witnesses aren't typically, they can also be, but typically they're offering a more generalized opinion of certain things. They're not usually a fact witness. We saw a lot of this in the YSL trial, where the state wanted to introduce and switch back and forth between 6 different expert witnesses on gangs. There were also fact witnesses on gangs. So that was a hot mess, and Glanville allowed quite a bit of that. But yeah, so definitely interesting. I think if you want to check that out, a Daubert hearing streamed. So check that out there. AV did the replay of it, and then the Melanie Little link that I posted is just on the judge's decision. Chloe Albert's Revenge, she was around a few days ago. She's probably busy. She's probably commuting home from work right now. She is a busy person. So there we go. I think we've got a good little recap of some stuff that's happening in the legal world, some places to go check out and watch. And also, I spoke with AV this morning about, not me, this was just like a two-way conversation. She's the one that's going to be doing it. But she's getting back into looking at the Kefie D trial and all the hearings, all of that stuff that's been going on with Kefie D. So if you're interested in that, again, click that link I just shared and subscribe to AV's channel. One of those things, I'm sure you guys already know AV, but we're going to say it again. And then, okay, so Taylor Umbridge also has, and Factual Lie already bookmarked it. Okay, so she's live, so I can redirect over here. Let's redirect over to Taylor. I'll set that up. We'll go on a trip together. And again, this is technically, the defendant is Mr. Butt. But love to see the victim remembered. The alleged victim. But let's set up a redirect, you guys. We'll go hang out with Taylor. A lot of you guys are asking about this case, so this is perfect that she's live right now. And yes, I can redirect. I remember, I think I've redirected to Taylor before, but sometimes creators change their settings and then suddenly I find out in the back end I can't actually redirect after I say I will. So we're going to end this. We're going to go over there. I'll see you guys in the chat. And don't forget, Infamous Sylvia is going to be live. You guys told me at 5:30 Eastern, so in an hour and 20 minutes, to talk about, she was live and in person for the Christian Eppinger hearing this morning, and maybe also for Tenquarius Mender's hearing. But she's going to be live at 5:30 talking about that as well. Kefie D, that's the Tupac, and didn't they come out with some documents recently? Recently, like a few months ago, talking about the amount of money that might have been exchanged for the murder of Tupac. But yeah, the most recent happening, and it's probably going to be a payroll, but it looks like the most recent activity a few days ago was the prosecution has failed to justify a decades-long delay that has irreversibly prejudiced my client, the lawyer for Dwayne Kefie D. Davis says. And yeah, it's payrolled, so... Oh, did it let me in? Yeah, the admitted Southside Crips gang leader charged for his alleged role in the 1996 shooting of death of hip-hop legend Tupac Shakur is asking a Nevada judge to dismiss his first-degree murder count ahead of a high-stakes trial set to begin in March. In a new motion filed Monday and obtained by Rolling Stone, Dwayne Kefie D. Davis argues prosecutors have failed to produce any corroborating evidence supporting what he calls his coerced confession in the case. Davis claims prosecutors also substantially violated his constitutional rights by failing to honor the immunity agreements he believed were in effect whenever he spoke with the state and federal investigators over the years. Now, I'm going to say one thing. If I get that you got to file every motion that's available to you, you want to do what's best for your client. But if this motion fails and you go to trial, it might be a pretty strong argument to be like, look, this has been years in the making. They delayed his trial. It's been years and years and years and years. And they're suddenly able to get him only because they have a confession that was coerced. And it's an uphill battle for a defense attorney to make that argument, but at least it's something that they can make. They can lodge in court if it goes to court, if it goes to trial. So, you know, he thought he had immunity when he said something. I don't know. Jurors could go both ways with that. Let's see. Davis and his lawyer, Carl Arnold, also argue that the prosecutor's 27-year delay in filing the criminal case has irreparably harmed Davis's ability to get a fair trial. Too many witnesses have died, Arnold wrote in their filing. The lawyer specifically cited the deaths of Davis's nephew, Orlando Baby Lane Anderson, the suspected shooter in Shakur's death, and the two other men allegedly in the car that opened fire. Arnold says the incarceration and unavailability of other important witnesses, including Death Row Records founder Marion Suge Knight and Bad Boy Records founder Sean Diddy Combs, are harming his client's defense as well. A hearing on the new dismissal motion is set for January 21st. So this is from a press statement. Prosecution has failed to justify a decades-long delay that has irreversibly prejudiced my client. Moreover, the failure to honor immunity agreements undermines the criminal justice system's integrity and seriously questions his prosecution. District Attorney doesn't immediately respond to Rolling Stone's request for comment. Prosecutor Binu Palal previously told the court that Davis confessed over and over again that he is responsible for the murder of Tupac Shakur. So, you know, that'd be interesting if you have a prosecutor saying in court that he confessed over and over again. Was this only one coerced confession? I actually do think that he probably did say it multiple times. If he thought he had immunity and was just saying stuff whenever he spoke with the state and federal investigators over the years. So I feel like there probably are multiple instances, right? That's an uphill hurdle for the hurdle for the defense there. And, you know, the rest of the context, you know, he wasn't arrested till September 2023. He wrote about his rise in the Southside Crips. So Rolling Stone gets into a lot of more, like, broader context if you guys want to check this out. And again, I'm not following this case for like detailed coverage, I've been tuning in, watching it. I know AV was covering it a while ago, and this makes sense why she's doing a video now. We have this new motion, so I would expect in the next day or two, AV will upload a video breaking this down. So I'll be over there watching it. With the Moongtoon case, so the Fit Lawyer ATL, Miss Tiffany, and Happily Angry Lawyer, I mean, they're working. They've gotten to meet with Moongtoon, so that's in motion. But things just take time, you guys. So as that rolls out, I'll share updates as I see them. But there is motion there, right? It's just it's court season during the holidays. Yeah, uphill Birdle. That's a good one. Burden hurdle. So there we go. Yeah, Blue-Eyed Hillbilly has clairvoyance. She said, I said Diddy off Tupac back when Tupac was first offed. It's crazy world out there, right? You know, I wouldn't put it past him. Wouldn't put it past him. And there we go. I've got the redirect set up, so we're going to go over to watch Taylor Umbridge. And I'll see you guys on Friday. Big thank you to you guys for coming to hang out. And holy moly, how could we miss this? KC Dog says, praying for the West Coast firemen and the victims. I'm not going to lie, you guys. I have been, I guess doom scrolling is the term. I've been sitting there like looking at some of the footage and the coverage and so many stories of people, you know, reuniting with their pets, and there's a lot of harsh comments out there. I can't believe, I know I didn't say anything about the fires at the stream, but I think I've scrolled through so much of it that there's just something in my brain that's like, you gotta hit the pause. You've got to stop the scrolling on that particular topic. It's really hard to look at some of that footage. There are organizations and causes all over. If you guys know any in particular, please tag me in them. We can share them. But there's really so many initiatives, which that's the silver lining, right? Something really terrible happens, but the bright side in a very dim situation is seeing people try to come together for the greater good. So yes, and let me link to this too before we get out of here. So this was this weekend if you guys missed it. I shared it over on X as well if that's an easier way for you to grab a link later. But great insights here, and the whole, it's not just about, you know, Moongtoon, you know, there's other discussions on this as well, but go check out this stream, and subscribe to Fit Lawyer, you know, actual practicing attorney. We love to see it, doing big things out here, but also covering stuff, giving commentary over on YouTube. Not only does Happily Angry Lawyer Jim make an appearance, but you also get an appearance from TLA. So go check that out, you guys. It was a really good stream. I ended up, again, you can see I started watching it on my computer, and I carried it over, I think this was Friday night, maybe Saturday. Carried it over to my kitchen to cook for the rest of it. So Kino says, oh my gosh, the high school, yeah, just like seeing those memories. It was rough. Like, I don't live over there. I know a lot of people that live in the general area. You know, even just like people that are near enough by but are worried that it's not going to be contained, or that they're dealing with, you know, like what do we do? My entire life is on pause because, you know, my family member or my friend, they evacuated last minute. They're coming over to my house. We have to help them. It's like the implications, the effects, the ripple effect of it is so much further than just where the fire has actually touched directly. So it's just insane. Just insane. And I honestly, allegedly, maybe imagine that much money and no water. So I might do something about this. I've got to like rack my brain for old content, but really like my academic background, a lot of it was on ecosystem management and where it intersects with, you know, geopolitics, you know, things like the Green Revolution. You know, Steve Lansing, one of my favorite case studies. Steve Lansing, the Western government wants to go over to Bali in Indonesia and completely change their rice paddy agricultural system to what works in America, what works in the United States, what works in Idaho. They royally screw it up. You know, they had no understanding of religious benefits, and how religion helped create a ecosystem that was sustainable in these Bali rice paddies. So these temples, these subaks, they would be situated in different regions, and they would rotate. They would do crop and harvesting rotations, and it would be commanded by the subaks. So it was like religion was calling the shots, but it was scientific. They might not have been able to explain it to a way a Westerner wanted to hear, but the way they were harvesting, it was framed as a religious practice, but it was preventing complete decimation of like insects, pests, things that could completely destroy a season's harvest, right? So they had a whole system of management that the Western world looks at and goes, oh, what is this buffoonery? You're using religion and not science? It was science. The way that they organized it was scientific. But, you know, we didn't want to see that. So we go and we barge in and we try to give them like a single season agricultural system, and the rice paddies start failing. Well, Steve Lansing and his team went in and they brought over computers, they brought over data to try to put what the subaks and all the people associated with each of the regions of the rice paddy farms. He tried to quantify what they were doing with data. He brought computers over there and just put it in the science language so the Western world could understand and not go in there with a battering ram and say, we're just going to implement the system that we want to implement because we think it works here, so obviously it'll work everywhere. They had to go put it in a language that would be understood. It was just a really crazy story. You can look up Steve Lansing. Tons of stories like that. When you look up the Green Revolution, you know, this linear idea of progress that if we industrialize everything, it must be good and it will always work better and more efficiently always because progress is always good, right? Anything Green Revolution, you'll probably see tons of examples there. But another one was Cochabamba, Bolivia. And I read more than I get to hear people talk about things, so I could be pronouncing that wrong. But they had an issue with water privatization, right? So their water rights were sold off to foreign companies. Bechtel was a major party. So European countries taking over the water in this town in Bolivia to the point where people were spending the equivalent of like 25 US dollars to get a gallon of clean water, carrying it back to their house. And the people of Cochabamba, Bolivia, they protested. They started protesting. And government gets involved. Police now sticking up for the private companies. The police is trying to suppress the protests, and they end up shooting and killing a young child. And that was it. That was the turning point. That was when people really said, no more. We're trying to protest, and then you kill a kid in the middle of it. And all we want is affordable water. So, really great story if you want to look up. And maybe I'll put something together to pull forth like the research that I did. But one of those really great stories that I couldn't help but think of this weekend when I was looking through these stories of how the land was bought by California to be used as a water reservoir that could support, 1 year of rain could support 10 years of whatever area. But some of that land, a good deal of that land, has either been used by private initiatives for pistachio farming, almond farming, or has been ruined by water runoff from industrial privatized farms, right? So we put all this water together, but we're not making sure that, the watershed, water isn't leaching from these other companies into this water that we're supposed to be accumulating for emergencies like this. So a lot of issues there. It really makes my heart heavy, and I think I had to like block it out because I really spent like 3-4 days straight just looking through the stories, and it's really a lot. It's really a lot. Chloe Albert's Revenge has appeared. Chloe, I'm so glad you popped in. We are about to wrap up and go watch. We're calling it the Neziah trial, but it's really Detroit versus V Butts. We're going to go check that out with Taylor Umbridge. But you were being paged because the chat brought forward the news that Beverly is not denying our expert witness from reappearing. Just crazy, crazy madness. So good to see you, Chloe. People were asking about you. If you didn't see it, people were asking about you. So, and let's see. And, you know, I'm not saying that like LA ran out of water, but what I'm saying is they have certain land rights agreements that are supposed to be used for one thing, and they might be benefiting other parties. And even though it's not a direct tie to the firefighting efforts, it's still, I think, an important parallel here that should be followed. So, you know, land and water rights, people, are huge, huge issues. And there we go. So let's get this reroute over. Drop the link manually in case that doesn't work. So we're going to head over to Taylor Umbridge. Here's the direct link. And this will redirect automatically. So if YouTube is nice enough to carry us over there, I'll see you guys over there. It was great to hang out with everybody. Thanks again for popping in last minute here, Chloe. It was good to see you. And again, see you guys over on the 17th, right? 10 a.m. if it doesn't get rescheduled. So take care in the meantime. Good to see you. Everybody take care. Bye.